Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and a few months ago, I had some tamales at another Omaha restaurant, and I posted about them on Instagram, and they were very good. And then there was this local company that reached out and said, hey, those look great. We would love for you to try our flavors sometime. So I started doing some research into them, and I learned that the creator of this home delivery service is none other than Carlos Cuevas, who's the head chef at Night Owl, one of my favorite places to get awesome food in Omaha, and I was completely sold. So we ordered right away, and the tamales did not disappoint. That is why I'm so excited to chat with Carlos and his wife, Gillian Cromwell Cuevas, today. They are the owners of Masa Luna Tamales. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I want to lead this episode off by describing what a tamale is, because I think there might be a lot of people in Omaha, crazy as it might seem, who are still kind of unfamiliar. And my original plan was like, okay, I'll go through, it's masa, wrapped in a corn husk, steamed. And I was like, why would I describe it when I have two experts right here? So I'm going to open it up to you guys. If somebody is hearing about a tamale for the first time, they're like, what are they talking about? What is it? What is a tamale?
So pretty much like you said, it's pretty simple. It's just masa wrapped around whatever kind of filling that you feel is right at the time, I don't know.
Yeah, there are different kinds of tamales in different cultures all across, Mesoamerica and South America. The tamales that we do are kind of more of a Mexican variation, but they're squidgier tamales that are wrapped in banana leaves. Ours are wrapped in corn husks and are kind of the one that most people are familiar with. And yeah, like Carlos said, you can throw whatever different flavors and fillings you like in there. And we like to kind of mix it up and do some fusion stuff in the tamales, which is really fun.
I already love this conversation because we got the word squidgier,
yeah.
Which I don't think in 4.5 years of this podcast anyone has ever said. No, but I love it because it's a fun word.
Yeah.
And somehow, even though it's not a real word, I know exactly what it means when you say it. I love it, squidgier. So you touched on it a little bit, but like when you're talking about Mexican tamales versus different variations of tamales from around not only Latin America, but around the world, what is it specifically about the Mexican tamale that you think like is represented in your food?
I think it's just like it just tastes like home for me because I'm from Mexico, and so like I think the fillings can be kind of highlighted or what would be the word, like
accentuated?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know.
That's a tough question. Yeah. I think we chose to do the tamales that we do because of Carlos's heritage. His mom was an excellent chef and a pastry chef, so he has kind of this background knowledge of culinary tradition from his mom that we are trying to infuse into these tamales. And, we could have gone for a different style or variation, but that wouldn't have felt quite authentic to him and his culture. And I mean, they're just delicious, too. And like I said, most folks are familiar with Mexican tamales, so it's kind of approachable. They're really the masa is such a neutral vessel, so you can put any filling you want in there, and they're pretty delicious. You can go savory, you can go sweet. They're just really fun.
I agree. Now, for anyone who's listening to this and they're like, man, this Masa Luna Tamales thing sounds pretty cool. What is this? How do I get some of these? You guys are a home delivery service. So you announce a new menu each week that has 3 or 4 different menu options. People can go on, they can choose, different quantities, send a direct message to you on Instagram, pay over Venmo. You deliver on Sundays, deliver frozen tamales on Sundays, and then they reheat within 3 minutes. I mean, it's crazy how well they reheat in the microwave, and they taste awesome. You guys make homemade sauces to go with them. We'll get into that. I just want to make sure right off the bat everyone knows what we're talking about, and if they're like, I need some of these, now they know how to get them.
Yeah.
Yep. They are the ultimate portable food. You can take them to work with you. You can have them on the go. They're just awesome. They come in their own little pouch, all biodegradable, compostable. It's great.
And there's different flavors every week, so you're constantly getting new things to mix it up, and for all different food sensitivities and types of diets, as we'll get into. But there's something I want to ask you guys. Like, in your minds, what makes an upper echelon tamale, especially a Mexican tamale, since that's what we're talking about? Like, when you bite into a tamale and you're like, okay, these guys are doing it right? Like, what are those defining qualities?
I think, I'm a big cheese guy, even though I am not supposed to be eating a lot of lactose. But
Cheese is worth it, man.
for me, it's the ultimate tamale. My mom used to make. It was cheese, carnitas, and corn inside there, and then like sometimes she throw poblanos and crema. But it was very like just I don't know. It like comes out. There's nice texture. It's homogeneous, but still has like that. Just a lot of flavor packed in there, I don't know. I think, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, it's not about any specific fillings or ingredients. I think as long as you have a good foundation of masa, like really deliciously prepared masa, and then it's well prepared on the back end. So steam it and then fry it in the pan to get like this nice little golden crispy brown on the outside. Then your flavors on the inside really shine. The masa is nice and salty on the outside and still like, yeah, squidgy in a really delightful way. Tender. It's just delicious and so portable and so fast. I love them.
Now, Carlos, clearly tamales are something that has made an impact on you, from your past, from growing up. What is it about this dish specifically? Because I'm sure if your mom's a great cook and has developed a lot of recipes, this probably is not like, maybe she was great at tamales, but I'm assuming this is not the only great thing she fed you guys. I'm sure you had all kinds of great Mexican food. What was it about the tamale that made you say, this is like my favorite and what I want to center my side hustle around?
Actually, it was Jill that inspired that.
Oh, okay.
My mom actually, she can only make the one tamale, and she's not very good at the other tamales.
Maybe not can. Like, I'm sure she can make others.
Yeah.
She just has chosen to make that single one. She's a great chef.
She's a great chef. She's a pastry chef for, I don't know how long, like 20 years or something like that. Grew up eating just wonderful food from her, and it really inspired me. But Jill was the one that kind of pushed us to, I don't know, start this business. 3 years ago probably, just asked me like out of the blue, like, oh, I want vegan tamales for my birthday. And I was like, okay, I can figure that out. And I'd never done tamales before, and I was like, all right, I'll kind of wang jangle it down there. And it was kind of a hit. I think everyone really enjoyed it. We had like big party at the house, and people all ate them. And then I kept making them, and Jill just really enjoyed it. And we were talking about how there's like no vegan tamales around, and I was like, man, that's kind of crazy that there's no option, because I mean they're normally the masas with lard. So we're like, well, let's maybe make some more. And then actually our wedding, I ended up making all the food for my wedding, and we had like 200 people.
You're a wild man.
He's crazy, yeah.
And then we made tamales for our wedding. So it was kind of like a labor of love that kind of came out of that. And I think we decided after a while that, I don't know, we could maybe start doing a side business.
Yeah, we could do this. They're fun. I mean, and the whole thing about tamales is they're supposed to be kind of this like communal event where everybody gets together and it brings together family and friends, and you all decide what you're going to make together, and somebody's working on the masa, and somebody else is soaking the corn husks, and somebody else is making the filling, and then everybody comes together in this big labor-intensive process of making the tamale, and that's really beautiful. And so I think it was really well represented in our wedding. But then, yeah, I just wanted to have a vegan tamale option, and so that's kind of how this was born.
So when you decide that, hey, we're going to do this, do you go to mom and say, Mom, I need your recipe? Do you say, I'm going to make my own thing? Did you do research on your own? Maybe a little all the above? Like, how did you come up with the recipe that you have today?
Yeah, it's kind of a conglomerate of many different recipe books that we've read. I think your mom has given her input. We've asked other folks that you knew growing up. So a combination of all of those things.
Yeah. I will say we did have a big party when we were thinking about starting the company, like our small company or whatever, and we made probably 10 to 15 different like flavors, and then had a big list of people having to rate and review and tell us what they liked inside them and then what they didn't like. And so we had a bunch of friends over and just had them all kind of rate and review all the tamales and what we should work or tweak on. And
yeah, we did a market research party.
Market research party.
It was our 4th of July party last year. So we just had people over for a picnic, and they got to tell us what they thought of our tamales and whether or not we should, take the plunge and make the leap and go for it. And I think unanimously we got yes.
Yeah.
Some people didn't like mushrooms, but otherwise I think it was a hit.
I need better friends in my life. I need friends who are throwing tamale parties and having me try 15 different ones.
Oh, come over to our house anytime.
Oh, that sounds like heaven.
Yeah.
I'll come eat all the tamales. Don't tempt me. So how much, as you're developing this recipe, especially like the first time where you made the vegan ones, and then, you kind of realize, hey, this is something that we could do moving forward. How much trial and error did you guys go through to develop that recipe to the point where you were like, okay, yes, now we feel comfortable serving these to our friends, having this 4th of July testing party, and then ultimately serving them to the public?
Gosh, that's a great question. I don't know that we really did too much before the market research party. I think we did a little bit, but a lot of that was doing trial and error for the birthday party and the wedding before that.
A lot of trial and error for the wedding, but
yeah, definitely
learned a lot, and yeah, because we ended up doing, was it like 600 tamales?
600 tamales for the wedding. Yeah.
So yeah, and so I learned a lot in those because you can kind of space it out, make them, freeze them ahead of time, and so I had everyone at Night Owl, all the kitchen guys helping me on like Mondays when we're closed, and
sorry, Noah,
learning how to do stuff, and so it was it was a lot of trial and error, but I think we kind of figured out a good, just a good way to how to make them, and I mean Jill makes the masa, she's the masa queen. I don't ever even make the masa, so.
Queen.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I do like making the masa. It's very fun, and I think that's where we did most of the research and development because masa is very particular in its texture, and we use oil instead of lard as our fat because we want it to be vegan and vegetarian and sensitive to different diets. So there was some trial and error there because you want it to be salty and you want it to be flavorful, but you don't want it to be too loose or too crumbly. So yeah, I think that took us a little while, but then otherwise our fillings are pretty much new every week, and we're just kind of out there trying new different flavors and really incorporating local ingredients when possible. All of our meat is intentionally local. We get our supply from John's Naturals and Otilly when they were around. They were fabulous. And yeah, I think our fillings are just new every week and fun.
First, Gillian, I have to compliment you. You describe like the texture of masa and tamales so well. Like that's something that I struggle to do sometimes when I'm writing about them or talking about them. I'm like, you just kind of have to, it's just something you have to try to know what it is. But when you describe it, like you do it really well. Like,
thank you.
So just a little hat tip there.
Thanks,
and you were just talking about fillings. I think that's a natural step into the next thing that I wanted to talk about here is, the different offerings you guys have. Like we talked about, it changes every week. You have at least 3 options. You've been rolling with 3 for the last couple of months or so. You've got a meat-forward one, a veggie one, and a vegan one. How do you decide what goes on the menu each week? Where does the inspiration come from?
I don't know. It kind of just depends on how we're feeling. I mean, I guess maybe I'm just like thinking of a special for Night Owl, and then I'm like, that won't really work, but maybe I can translate that into like a tamale or something, and so we try and do some fun themed weeks, like we've done an X-Files one and we've done like a Simpsons one and just I don't know, trying to just be creative and fun, and I don't know, I just kind of think of what kind of filling I'd want in a tamale, and I'm kind of a weird person and adventurous, so like this week we did asparagus tamales with Parmesan and was
Gruyere.
Gruyere, yeah. And I was like, I love asparagus soup with Gruyere and Parmesan. I'm like, this would be a pretty fun little filling. So kind of just whatever kind of hits us, I don't know, inspires us at the moment.
Yeah, we've done a couple that have been based off of our travels.
Yep.
We've gone to Colorado and Santa Fe and, incorporating some of those flavors on our way back. Or if there's something special and exciting happening, like our last theme was the eclipse. Just things that we like. We try not to take ourselves too seriously. This is a side hustle and it is fun, and we want it to remain that way.
Well, that's what I love is like when you look at the menu every week, you can or especially going back, because I went back and looked at all your menus, and there are some that are super traditional, where you're just going to find, chorizo, carnitas, stuff, like that, where you would expect to see. And then there's like a take on a runza,
Yeah.
or fun kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff like that. And I can see that creativity coming out of you guys, and I don't know, it's just exciting to What day of the week is it each week where you guys release your menu?
Usually we will release the menu on Mondays.
Okay.
We ask folks to get their orders in by Thursdays, and then we deliver on Sundays.
Okay, I was going to say, when the menus pop up on Monday, it's just like, ooh, there's the menu. I wonder what's on there this week. And there's just like, there's fun stuff on there. So I'm curious, because you talked about you wanted the tamales to be accessible to everyone, and that's why you use the oil instead of the lard. I would say, I guess I don't really know the statistics. If I had to guess, I'd say the majority of Omahans are meat eaters, though.
Yeah.
And 2/3 of your menu offerings each week do not include meat, which I think is really cool. And I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan, but I love trying stuff like when it's made really well, and I think you guys have done a fantastic job of it. In fact, I think one of my favorite ones I've had of yours was a sweet potato forward one.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess, what was kind of the thinking behind that menu decision that, yes, Omaha's a steak and potatoes town, but that doesn't mean that we have to offer just all meat and maybe just one vegetarian option or something, but we can kind of put the vegetarian and vegan ones forward and put them in the spotlight too.
Jill, again, wants inspiration. Like, you've been vegan for how long?
Oh my gosh, too long. It would date me if I said how long it was. Since high school. I've been a vegan for a very long time, and so I've always wanted to have options around, and it doesn't feel weird to me to have 2/3 of our menu vegetarian. I think, especially if we're trying to be climate friendly going forward, we want to have more, veggie options. And there are quite a few vegans and vegetarians in Omaha. There's a pretty popular group on Facebook, and I think another one on Instagram as well. And they have a pretty good following, and I think folks are looking for that. And it's not like meat eaters can't eat the vegetarian and vegan options. Just like you said, you can try them and see how they are, and maybe you're exploring meatless Mondays, or it's Lent, or whatever else it might be.
Yeah, we notice the runs a week definitely was pretty heavy on the meat, but we do notice a lot of people get a lot of mixed bags and just want to try different stuff. And I think that even if there's no meat, as long as it tastes good, I think people are excited about it. So,
yeah.
Okay, I want to correct myself. My favorite one that I've had of you guys was one that you released, is probably about a month ago now, maybe a little over a month ago, but it was called the KC Queen. And it was pulled jackfruit, barbecue sauce, collard greens, and onions. And I'm looking at it now and just like having memories of it. That was such a delicious tamale, and it tasted like pulled pork. But again, just jackfruit, just cooked extremely well, can mimic that texture and really take on the flavor of the barbecue sauce so well. So I commend you guys on being able to fool a dummy meat eater like me into being like, oh, vegetables. Yes, these are great. I love vegetables.
Yeah, vegetables are fabulous, and hopefully they're delicious and cooked well enough, like you said, so that, folks don't miss the meat.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite tamale creations that you've made? Give me 2 or 3. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
For me, definitely like a traditional one is always the rajas. Kind of the same style as my mom, with the corn and the poblano and the cheese and cream. I really enjoyed the runza ones a lot.
Those were good, man.
And it was just funny, and it's like very funny that, like, I don't know, it's very Omaha to really like go after a runza tamale. But I don't know, like, I think I've really enjoyed a lot of the creamed kale. I wish that one. I was
going to say the creamed kale.
No one liked it.
We had a branding problem on the creamed kale.
Yeah, no one. I think maybe had 10 orders of it, but it was so good. It was just kale that was creamed, and I think we did goat cheese in there or something like that. And I was like, man, this is really good. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Cheese and cream and kale, and a lot of onions, a lot of alliums.
What's your favorite ones?
I think I've got to say the ongo rojo, or which is just mushrooms, like big trumpet mushrooms cooked down with the rojo. And we make our sauces fresh every week, so it's just fabulous and bright and delicious filling, with the meaty texture of the mushrooms, which have been cooked down really well. Or I really like the squash ones. Anything with zucchini or like summer squash. So I'm really looking forward to summer squash season.
The squash ones that taste like pizza.
Yes.
Yeah, those are good.
The squash ones that taste like pizza?
Yeah, we did kind of like it was like marinara kind of esque squash ones, and then somehow when we tried it, I was like, man, this kind of just tastes like pizza.
That sounds amazing.
I think that was the Scully, wasn't it? The X-Files
Oh,
one?
yeah, the X-Files one. Yeah, it was.
I didn't get to try that one because that one had cheese. That's probably why it tasted like pizza.
Oh, man, that's so good.
Yeah. But anything with squash is delicious.
So you guys have mentioned the themes a little bit, and like you said, you've had themes around the X-Files, the Simpsons. There was ones about cowboys and aliens, and the solar eclipse just happened as we're recording this. It was last week, so you guys did a theme around that. How much do the themes inspire the flavors at all, or is it more so just kind of we're making tamales that we love, and then we just kind of name them after the theme, and that's a fun little thing for the week?
Sometimes we try and match, like, for the X-Files one, I'm like, oh, what would, like, Scully and what would Mulder eat, you know? And I'm like, I feel like they're kind of their vibe, you know? And then sometimes, we kind of just want to be goofy and fun and have, like, just a fun little menu that has fun names. And I feel like branding is a big part, and I feel like people enjoy lighthearted stuff. And
yeah, totally. Like the solar eclipse week, we had one that was total eclipse of the heart, and it had hearts of palm. That was the vegan flavor. So that was kind of a tie-in, but it's a lot easier to do like themed ones when we've done travel, I think, that really tie back to the flavors.
Yeah, we did a Mexico one when I went to go visit my mom at the beginning of the year, and I brought back a bunch of ingredients from Mexico. So I brought back they have it's like an ash paste, and I ended up using that and made like we called them, it was like goth boys or
chilangoth.
Yeah, so like chilango and goth, and then it was like all black with like hard boiled eggs.
Yeah, the filling itself looked black.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I was inspired by like a dish I had in because my mom lives in Yucatan, so it's a very traditional Yucatecan dish where it's just chorizo, hard boiled egg, this ash paste that's cooked down in like a sauce, and then it's got you get your tortillas. So it's pretty much with the tortilla, it's pretty much a tamale almost. And then I don't know, just try and be adventurous and fun. Like we're adventurous eaters, and so we just want to kind of spread the fun with everyone.
I love it. Now, you might have mentioned some of these already, but I want to hear about some of your wildest creations, because I know, working at Night Owl, you guys are willing to do some wild stuff with food, and not just like gimmicky stuff, but like actually taking together flavors that no one would think about and thoughtfully composing them into a dish. So hit me with a couple of your favorites, whether maybe they've been on a menu, maybe they haven't graced a menu yet, or maybe you were just like, oh, this one's a little too out there. I don't know if people are ready. Maybe it's still in R&D.
Yeah.
Hit me with some of your favorite like wild ones.
Oh, we got to bust out the list.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, like some R&D ones that I'm thinking about, I definitely want to do like a kimchi one with like pulled pork and maybe American cheese or something. Kind of fun like that. Or I've been really thinking, I don't know, I haven't brought it up to you. I've been thinking about, because we're friends with Ashish, owner of Culinary.
Yes.
And I've been thinking hopefully maybe we can try and do like some Indian like tamales and have some fillings that kind of collaborate with him and maybe do those kind of flavors.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
And Ashish loves his collabs too. I bet he'd be all in on that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But for past ones,
that chilangoth was probably
Chilangoth was good.
Yeah.
The Simpsons one, we had a Senor Bumblebee, and it was like pepita that was like ground up with like habaneros and onions, and like it had kind of a bean texture, but it wasn't, So it was a fun, different thing that I had tried also in Mexico that I was like, oh man, I think this would be a really fun flavor to put in a tamale, and I think that one definitely I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, for our last pop-up, we also put nettles in because it's springtime and we've got nettles coming up. So that was a really fun ingredient. They weren't as flavor-forward as we would have liked. The flavor of nettles is really, really subtle. So I think next time we work with them, which will probably be soon. So maybe that's a little sneak peek at what's coming up.
All right. I love it. We also have to highlight the sauces, because I mean, like you said, you're making sauces every week, not only to go inside the tamale, but that can be dipped or, spread on top of the tamales as well. And I didn't know that was happening. The first delivery we got, and they showed up, and we had a crema from Yucatan, a mango habanero salsa, and a chimichurri. And I mean, just being able to play with those, like, it made each bite unique and individual. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I didn't know it came with these. And then with our second delivery, it was different sauces. It was a different crema and then salsa matcha, which I'd never had before. And now I'm just in love with, and I want to spread on everything.
It's so good.
Where did the idea to, like, come up with these accompanying sauces come from? And then how do you pair them? Because based off my experiences, it looks like you pair them each week based off the flavors that are in the tamales themselves, right?
Yeah, I think it just kind of came naturally. I mean, like, what's a tamale without some sauce on it,
Yeah, sauce is like the food pyramid. It's the base of the pyramid for me. You got to have good sauce. And I think, our original name for Masa Luna was not a great name, so I'm kind of glad we moved away from it. But we started out with Saucy Tammys, and so it was kind of built into the business model at the beginning. Yeah, it got...
I think you made a smart decision. I'll affirm you on that. Saucy Tammys is fun.
It's fun.
But
it gets old pretty fast.
Yeah, I could... Anyway, sauces. How do you pair them each week?
Well, whenever we have, like, whatever filling, I'm like, man, what would be, something that accompanies this, and so we just try and match it. Like that crema that had, like, the garlic in it, like garlicky crema one. I just wanted to have something where I was like, I just want something refreshing that's not spicy, kind of like cools down, like, the filling, and I'm like, all right, this would be fun. Or the matcha is something that I'm like, I want some spicy with some texture and some nice crunch in there. And I don't know, we just kind of try and find what would pair well with it, and just try and
make it work. Yeah, Carlos, as you can tell, Carlos has a phenomenal palate, so I rely very heavily on him. That is the base of our business. And so, yeah, he picks out the flavors that we're going to do every week and the different sauces that we're going to do every week. Yeah, I do the masa, but Carlos is really the flavor guy.
I love how you guys have, like, established this, kind of very distinct roles in the business, and, like, I'm the masa queen, and he's the the flavor master. Like, and I think that's really smart to have those defined roles. Did you kind of fall into those naturally, or did you kind of sit down and be like, okay, we need to figure out, we need somebody to take care of the masa, we need somebody to figure out the flavor, somebody to build the sauces, somebody to do the social media, or, like, how did you kind of come to understand what your roles were going to be?
That's a great question. I mean, I think our strengths pair really nicely. Like, my weaknesses are Carlos's strengths and vice versa. And so we do tend to fall into them naturally. There are some things where neither of us are really super comfortable, but those are the things that we definitely talk about and make a decision on.
Yeah, we've worked together for, I don't know, a really long. That's how we met. We met at Brazen Head. I don't know if you've ever been to Brazen Head.
Yeah. We were both working at Brazen Head, and that's where we met.
Yeah, and then we
10 years
worked
ago.
there, and then we ended up working at Farnham House Brewing Company. That's another place, and we ended up managing it. So she was front of house, and I was back of house. And I think those roles kind of came back when we started thinking about starting this company. And we're like, like, you do this, I'll do that. We'll divide up the work, and then just kind of worked out.
Yeah, and we both have a pretty good understanding of, like, this is a side hustle, and we don't want it to feel stressful or overwhelming. Like, this isn't supposed to be a job where it's, like, high stress and scary and, like, deadlines and got to do this by this date. It's fun. We want it to be fun.
How do you do that? Because that's something that I find fascinating, especially between couples who own a business together, and that, like, I feel like you want to have separation between work and home. Like, that's just naturally a healthy thing to have. But when it's so closely connected and you're running a business together and you're kind of having to do that business, when you're not working at your full-time job, like, it naturally would just bleed into itself. So I think that you guys are just keeping it so lighthearted. That's really refreshing and really healthy. How do you do that? Have you had to, like, set boundaries for yourselves or anything? I mean, you seem like just very laid back people, so maybe that just comes naturally. I don't know.
I mean, that's what I was going to say is like we're both naturally not lazy, but like maybe procrastinators. And so we're a little chill about it, maybe to our detriment. But yeah. I think, it is just fun. Like we want it to be fun. And I think we're both very protective of our time outside of Masa Luna. We try and do check-ins on like our capacity this week. Like, what do you have coming up? Are we able to do this? How many tamales can we realistically get done this week? And so, it's just a lot of communication.
Okay, so you met at Brazen Head. You spent some time working together at Farnham House Brewing together. At what point did you guys like evolve from just being working business partners to forming a relationship and now being married?
Yeah. Oh, so early on.
Yeah, very.
We met working at Brazen Head, and we were just great friends. We were instantly just really, really good buddies. And then pretty quickly thereafter, we started dating and realized that worked out pretty well. And then both of us decided to move to Farnham House together because it was a new restaurant at that time and something exciting and close to our house in Midtown. It's just we've been together ever since. 10 years in February. Yeah. Was our dating anniversary. We got married a year and a half ago.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I remember that. I remember I came in and I filmed a video at Night Owl of you making some wings and some tachos. And you were like, I get married in like 2 weeks. And I have to make like 500 tamales. And I was just like, what? What is happening right now? But you did it. Yeah. You made over 600 tamales for people. I mean, maybe you had the idea for the business in your head at that point, but as you're successfully pulling that off, and as people are eating the tamales, and I'm assuming you're getting good feedback at the wedding, or you probably wouldn't have pursued this further. At what point do the gears start turning where it's like, we might have something here other than just feeding friends for parties and, making these for fun?
I mean, I think the wedding was definitely a proof of concept. We probably wouldn't necessarily have pursued it further, but I lost my job May of last year, and so I was kind of in this weird spot, not really knowing exactly what I was going to do with my career, and we had this thing kind of hanging out in the back pocket, and we decided to just go for it, turning lemons into lemonade.
What's the first step when you go for it?
Planning out our R&D party.
Yeah. I was definitely planning that, and then kind of also planning like what we wanted to do. Originally, we were going to just like guerrilla style, like walk through Benson and have a bag full of tamales and sell them that way. And
we were going to be the Omaha Rose guy, but with tamales.
Oh, that would have been great too. I love your current business model, but that would have been fun as well.
Yeah. Well, and then we wanted to kind of make it more, I was like, maybe we should make it more legit. And then we were like, how do we do that when we don't have like a restaurant to sell it out of? And I was like, maybe we just do like deliveries, and then kind of evolved from there. And I don't know, Noah helps us out a lot, the owner of Night Owl, and so he lets us use fizzies when they're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays so that we can get our tamales done. And
that's our commercial kitchen.
I was gonna ask where the tamales actually get formed. That answers my question.
Yeah. So we kind of had to figure out logistically like what and how to do it. And then I kind of just started with that business model. Like, all right, let's just do it online. We don't have a restaurant, but we can just deliver, make it frozen, and then,
and it is intentionally kept kind of low-key and small because we are just on Instagram. Like, we don't even have a website yet, which to many people's chagrin who are not on Instagram. So sorry, folks. Maybe someday. But yeah, I think we were Googling furiously. We were checking in with people that know what they're doing better than we do, who know the ins and outs of the restaurant industry. I think, like, it really is a huge, like, our business is community supported. Like, we have so many folks who, A, helped us with our wedding tamales. Like, we couldn't have gotten that done without people around us. But then, B, relying on their feedback from our R&D party and just helping us along the way figure out what we're doing. Talking to the health department and things like that, who have been very helpful.
So your first social media post was on September 12th of 2023. What was that moment like for you? Because it's one thing to do all the planning behind the scenes and get excited about this and have the R&D party, but when you announce it to the world, it's like, okay, now we actually have to follow up on this. Now we actually have to do it. We have to execute it. We have to figure out delivery schedules and routes. We have to come up with new flavors every week. Like, that's a lot. What was that moment like for you making that official announcement?
I don't know. I felt like we had, even though we're procrastinators for sure, we definitely are planners as well. So we felt pretty confident once we posted that we're like, all right, I think we're in a good spot to do this.
Yeah, and it also felt at that point like we were just talking to our friends. Like, we knew that our friends were going to be the ones who were ordering. Nobody else was going to know about it. We didn't do any like real advertising. We haven't spent much money on that budget.
We've never done any advertising.
So really, like, that moment where it's like, oh wow, this is real. We really have to be on top of it is when you did your review. So thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome.
You definitely elevated our profile.
It was all in complete honesty. I mean, I think the tamales are as good as any that you'll find in Omaha, and to have them at the convenience of just like my wife and I, we have tamales in our freezer tonight, and if I want to go home and make them, they'll be ready in 5 minutes. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Well, thank you for your support.
So I want to get a little bit more into that promotion because, yes, you guys are well supported by your friends and everything.
Sorry.
But at the same time, you do want to, grow your company and get out there to people who haven't heard about it before. And that's hard to do if you're a restaurant or even a pop-up. Like, people can still, drive by a restaurant or a pop-up or something and see it and be like, oh, what's that? There's a new food truck there. Maybe I'll go try that. When you're a delivery service, you don't have that opportunity. Like, all of your promotion has to be done by yourself or by your customers through word of mouth. So what did you guys do at the very beginning when there weren't really customers? How did you get the word out? How do you grow that Instagram account so more and more people are seeing these posts?
I think we've been in the industry for, 10 years now. So like, we have a lot of relationships with everyone around town, restaurant or just friends, and I think it definitely was just word of mouth. And we hoped that our product was good enough that people were like, man, this is good. I'm going to tell someone about it. And naturally, it's just kind of, I feel like that's been,
Yeah, and I think the pressure to grow is taken off because it is our side hustle. Like, we are not too stressed about making sure that we're growing by X percentage every month on our Instagram followers. It's awesome that that's what we've achieved naturally and by word of mouth. But I don't think it's really been an intentional or like a real drive or focus for us.
If it happens, it happens.
If it happens, it happens. And it has, which has been awesome. We're so grateful.
If you put a great product out there and you're good people who care about what you're doing, I believe that somehow it'll take off, it'll be found, and people will hear about it. And that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Carlos, being the head chef at a restaurant, like, that is a time-consuming gig. Yes, you might get Mondays or Tuesdays, or maybe it's Mondays and Sundays at night, I'm not sure which, but you would get that off. But off still means cleaning the restaurant, coming up with recipes, making your orders for the week, doing all kinds of stuff. There's not really days off. So how do you balance being the head chef at a popular restaurant and also having this side hustle, which is really growing and kind of taking on a life of its own?
Time management, for sure. I don't know. I think when we were thinking about it, I was like, man, I really need to manage my time, figure out how I'm going to do this. And I rely a lot on Jill. She does a lot of work for Masa Luna and like does a lot of rolling, a lot of the filling, like everything just kind of, I don't know, as a team together, we kind of tackle it. But yeah, sometimes I just don't have time during the week. And sometimes I'm able to just tell Jill like, hey, let's not do tamales this week because I just can't,
Yeah, we do take a lot of time off. So if we need a break or a week where we just want to go out of town, this weekend we're going to Kansas City for a wedding for a friend of ours. So we're not doing a menu this week. We'll just take the time off if we need it.
Yeah, and I think that's the nice thing about, I guess, our business models that we can decide to just be like, okay, I can't do it this week. And it's nice, and I think people, I don't know, they don't really harbor us too much on.
No, I think people are really understanding of like a healthy work-life balance, and especially with, Carlos's schedule. I am fortunate to work a part-time job, so I can really put energy into Masa Luna, but I don't want to do that without Carlos being right there by my side. So I'm not trying to grow it any further than we can handle at the same time.
I love that. I think it's really smart to have that work-life balance. Keep things without getting too crazy, and allow yourself to be able to go on vacation or go to a wedding, or say, I worked 65 hours this week. I don't want to make hundreds of tamales. Let's just take this week off. That's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's really healthy. So the main core of you guys' business is doing the home deliveries, but you have had a couple pop-ups.
Yeah.
You first did a pop-up at Fizzy's on November 26th of 2023, and then you just had one at Night Owl on March 31st, 2024, and you got the chance to not only serve tamales, but also some empanadas, dessert, beverages, stuff like that. Take me back to that first pop-up at Fizzy's, and you're getting to serve, like, it's not home delivery. It's like you're getting to serve people live this thing for the first time. What was that night like for you guys?
Oh, chaos. We underestimated the amount of support that we were going to have that night. And we decided that I would also be in the kitchen. I am not a back of house person. I've helped out on Expo if their restaurant is like really in a crisis, but like I don't work the line. And I was trying to work the line with Carlos, and it was a nightmare. It was a total disaster. But it was, fun and crazy, and everybody was still really kind. So we learned a lot of lessons that night, especially about staffing needs and just like where I am best situated in the restaurant. So I was a food runner this past pop-up, which was much better.
What's the difference between, for you guys, serving people live versus doing deliveries? Because I'm sure you guys have gotten a lot of great comments or, social media posts that are affirming and saying, hey, these tamales are great and everything, but you're never getting to see customers actually eat them and get that interaction. When you do a pop-up, you get that. What was that like for you, getting to actually see people enjoy your food?
Oh, it was great. I definitely was excited for it because I'm like, I don't know how people dress up their tamale at home, but I like to dress them up. I like to really throw a lot of stuff on there. You got your beans, your lettuce, your eggs. Sometimes we offered a duck egg for both our pop-ups. That's like a local duck egg. Sauces, like I really like to dress up my tamale, and it was just nice to see people come in and enjoy them, and it was really nice to be able to I work the line every day anyway, so it was just kind of normal to just kind of push food out and everything, but it was just really nice to see people like it, and our friends came out, and also just new customers that we've made came out, and I don't know, it was really nice to just see the support and that people really enjoyed it,
Yeah,
and
it's a community event where people can gather, and I think they enjoyed the food, and it was really nice to get that feedback in person as opposed to online, which is usually where we hear it.
And we try to both pop-ups, we try to have fun Mexican movies on, and I try and make a fun Mexican playlist that's not your common Mexican music, it's actual, some pop or some fun rap or, stuff that people don't typically think of as Mexican music. And I was like, all right, this will be fun kind of ambiance to bring people into, and I think everyone enjoyed, and we sold out both times in 3 hours, so it wasn't very long. It was very short pop-ups, but it was good.
What is an event like that? Because obviously I have a lot of communication with people online and talking about food and saying that they enjoy what I do, but I've done a couple of Restaurant Hoppen dinners at restaurants where people have, come out and enjoyed a big communal meal with us, and those nights just fill me up so much because it's just here are all the food nerds like me, and we're not spread out through the city and talking on social media, but we're here, and we're together, and people who are coming to this event are, food nuts who will actually be able to, speak the language that I like to speak. And I'm assuming that's kind of what the pop-ups were like for you guys. If somebody is coming to a bar on a Sunday night, on Easter night, to eat tamales, those are people who are committed to food. What was it like? Did you feel that sense of community on those pop-up nights?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It definitely felt like we were doing the right thing, and it made us feel, I don't know, I felt pretty overwhelmed with I was like, oh, I think we're doing a good thing here, and I'm excited. And
they were really validating experiences. Like, we are on the right path. People enjoy this. They are supportive of us. I think it's hard with Carlos being in the kitchen and actually physically cooking the food for him to get out and, do the glad handing that is a part of restaurant ownership. But we're working toward it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
What's the difference in prepping for a pop-up versus just weekly deliveries?
Definitely a little bit more intense. We try and offer a little more than just tamales. So we do, we got our empanadas. We try and offer a dessert tamale. And then we try and offer, pinwheels, but we have all these different offerings, and there's just a little more prep to do and a little more managing, but,
just checklists, making sure that we have everything, all our ducks in a row, and we have our timing right for the weekend. In some ways it's easier, it's fewer tamales usually for a pop-up because, we're selling dozens at a time on the internet, but we're selling 2 at a time in a pop-up on a dish. So usually fewer tamales, but a lot more work, getting our menus together and making sure that everything's in the system and the admin work behind it. Yep. Doing merch. We printed some shirts recently. So.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the future of Masa Luna Tamales. And I know, you guys have said we want to keep this chill. We want to keep this a side hustle. We don't want it to get all consuming or put too much pressure on us or anything like that. But clearly, we're talking about something that is less than a year old and has really just blown up in the past 3 or 4 months, I would say. And, the arrow is clearly going up and to the right. Have you guys had conversations about what do we do if this thing continues to get bigger? Or are you just kind of just laying it all out there and saying whatever happens, happens? We're just rolling with the punches. When I bring up the future, what does that spring to the front of your mind?
Yeah, we started out with a really solid business plan. We had a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. We were going to get a truck in 3 years and do kind of more of a mobile service. But we intended for it to be not a truck where we stand inside, but something where we're outside on the streets with folks and more of an Asian style food truck or something that you would see in Mexico City. And I think that's still kind of the track. That's something that we're thinking about and eyeing in the future. But also TBD, it has grown so much faster than we expected and in different ways and taken us in different directions that we didn't really expect, I don't think. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully, I don't know. It'd be fun to have a brick and mortar, be fun to have a food truck, but I think we're just keeping our options open and maybe something will fall in our hands or something like that.
Yeah, it's hard that Carlos loves Night Owl so much, and I'm really enjoying my job too. I work at Keep Omaha Beautiful. I work in nonprofit, and it's just, I get to do environmental education with kids. And so we're kind of in a really good spot where we're at, but open to other possibilities as they present themselves.
Fantastic. All right, before we get out of here, I got 2 questions that I like to ask most guests that I have on this show, and I'm really interested to hear you guys' answers. And you can answer this from a Masa Luna, home delivery service standpoint, or you've both worked in restaurants, so you can answer it from a restaurant standpoint as well. What is something that you wish that customers understood about the restaurant industry that you don't think that they understand?
It's a lot of work. I think sometimes people just go to a restaurant and they're served and they don't think about kind of all the stuff that has to get there to get that food on the plate and all the hard work. And even just, Jill's worked for a lot of farms and works for Free Farm Syndicate. And it's, I think, seeing that aspect of oh man, it takes so much work to just get this vegetable, to be grown, to then get transported, to get taken to the restaurant, to get prepped, to get put on a plate. And then I think people just kind of, forget that, restaurants are a lot of work and it takes a lot of dedication and hard work to get that food on the plate. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, a reminder of where your food comes from and thinking about keeping food miles down, while sometimes more expensive than cheap stuff from across the country, is supporting your local economy and making sure that folks here in town have a living wage. When food is expensive, try to have an understanding of where that's coming from and what it supports locally. I just think it's really important to help provide a little more foundation for folks working in the industry here in Omaha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that I always come back to, no one is getting rich in restaurants, especially locally owned restaurants.
Yeah.
Restaurants are not gouging you. If you're getting charged $20 for a burger, hey, that's just kind of a going price for a good burger now. But that means they're getting beef that's raised near here. They're getting the vegetables that are raised near here. It's quality ingredients put together by a really experienced chef. So, and I would say the same thing, about your tamales when you talk about getting John's Naturals, and I know you're getting a lot of your vegetables from around here. Like, yeah, that stuff might cost a little bit more. You know what? It also tastes a lot better, and it's a lot better for you. And I think we're starting to understand the more and more processed foods that we eat, the bad effects that those are having. So the more natural stuff that you can eat, the more you know where it's coming from, the more important it is. So thank you for bringing that up. And then get you guys out of here on a fun, positive note. What's your favorite thing about being a part of the food industry?
I don't know. I got to think about that one.
Oh, I know my answer. It's just the community. Oh man. Sometimes restaurant life can be very, very stressful. And when you're working with people, you're kind of trauma bonded. You develop these deep, deep relationships with people, over a really heinous shift. And there's something beautiful about it. You have lifelong friendships. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Very, very much agree with that. Almost all my friends have came out of just working with them and learning that I can work with this person and I'm also their friend. And yeah, working in a restaurant is tough, but it's rewarding and enjoyable. At least I enjoy it. And I'm happy with the products that we put out, and either at Night Out or Masa Luna, I'm just happy to make people happy. Food is my love language, so I definitely, as long as someone's happy, I'm happy with it. So
food is my love language. Put that on my tombstone. Anyone who can sum their life up like that is a friend of mine, and that includes you guys. You guys are awesome. People, if you haven't had Masa Luna Tamales, if you love tamales, or if you've never had a tamale, this is a company, at least try it. That's the great thing about a weekly service, is you can put in an order for a week, and you can just try it. You don't have to commit to something long-term. Give it a shot. I'm pretty sure you're going to get hooked. I'll just say that out there. It's going to be a long-term commitment, but it's going to be on your terms and your choice. They're doing different flavors every week. I highly endorse this product. I love you guys' tamales, and I love the passion and the heart behind what you're doing. Okay, so clearly the first two pop-ups went really well. You mentioned you sold out both of them. Do you have any other upcoming events that you want to tease out for people if they not only want to get a delivery, but they want to come experience that community and experience what it's like to eat these tamales live?
Yeah, we actually will. We have been invited to the Little Bohemia Spring Market on May 18th. So you can find us there outside of Idle, the wine shop in Little Bohemia, from 11 to 4 on the 18th of May. It's a Saturday.
All right.
Yeah, come check us out.
Do you have? Can we tease out any specials right now? That's still a little ways away, so maybe you guys are still working on the menu. But do you know anything that might be offered at that point?
Since it's going to be an outdoor event, we'll probably just have tamales. It's kind of tough to do multiple offerings.
Yeah.
So we'll probably just have tamales, but we'll have all the fixins, the best toppings, some good hot sauce, some mom sauce. It's the best.
Let's go. Anything called mom sauce.
Yeah.
I know there's love in that. I'm here for it. All right, mark your calendars, people. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been awesome.
The pleasure was all mine. Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.